meeting here with the Tucson Traffic Safety Committee. Want to thank all of you who are here on board for your diligence and your commitment to be a part of this this meeting here for the community. There's a lot of things that we would like to cover here tonight. It's been very interesting the last 30 days. There's a lot of enlightened I guess incidents have happened or things have happened. We're glad to be able to hopefully report and make everyone aware of where our standing is and all of what has happened in the last 30 days. But first of all, I hope you all had a nice holidays for those of you who are still working and had a chance to break on this President's Day holiday. We want to thank all of you for taking this time off of your holiday to be with us tonight. We follow usually a regular regimen of starting off with Major Mitchell. I hope that Major, you're on board to give us your presentation, but I just wanted to say in light of also Major Mitchell starting us off, is that we will go straight to Peter Caponides. We usually have him come on a little bit later in the presentation on an hour of our committee meeting, but we're going to move things around a little bit different tonight because we want to show you a video that was shown, aired on television one day last week. I think it'll be very interesting in terms of its input in the discussion here tonight on all things having to do with Indian Head Highway 210, and we'll hopefully have enough opportunity for all of us to have open discussion tonight on your feelings, your sentiments, and anything else that you may want to convey regarding the wherewithal of dealing with Indian Head Highway. We also have, as some of you know, maybe you don't, but we have a big meeting coming up on Thursday for the General Assembly, where the two bills that we have been discussing the last couple of months will be presented. So we'll have things said about that as well. But first of all, let me just go right to the beginning. As Major Mitchell is with us tonight. Major Mitchell, I would like for you to, if you don't mind, want to first of all introduce you as the Major of the 7th District here in Prince George's County on Fort Washington Road. And hope you're again with us to be able to give us your monthly conveyance of the report for the 7th District. Major Mitchell?
Major Mitchell doesn't appear to be on yet.
Okay. It appears that you're absolutely right. But what I will do, in lieu of him not being here, he did send me the report that he's conveyed. And perhaps he, in lieu of him not being here, maybe that was the suggestion that we may not be able to be with us tonight. But let me just give you what he would be reporting if he were here. This is the traffic stops or the traffic report that is comprehensive from January 1 of this year, 23, until February 18th of this year, everything inclusive. It seems that for traffic stops and citations, he has a total of 169. Moving citations, there's 65. Warnings, 325. C-roads are 38 with a total citation of 428 for this 2 months period or month and a half period from the beginning of the year until February the 18th. I've noticed one of the areas that is not highlighted, well, I mean, it's not there is we do not have any DUIs, and that's a good sign for those for that month and a half period. But that's the extent of it in terms of what he has reported. Again, total citations of 428, moving or 65, and then the others had to do with warnings and the C-roads. Those are, I think, the service warnings that they give for vehicles that are not in compliance. Any questions on those? Okay. I know that's been pretty brief. We will go right to Mr. Peter Caponides if he's with us. I hope, Peter, you're here. I didn't see if you're signed on I guess on my display, but Peter Caponides. Yes, I
Over
see you
the
here.
screen.
Okay, very good. Peter?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm having some technical difficulties today.
Yeah, I could hear you real clearly when you were speaking just a moment ago.
Okay. Yeah, you got all of you are coming in kind of spotty tonight. I don't know what the situation is, but I apologize if I'm coming in and out. Good evening, everyone. In case Reverend Screen didn't introduce me, I'm Peter Campanitas. I'm Assistant District Engineer for Traffic with the Maryland Department of Transportation State Highway Administration. Right now, I do not have any new updates to provide at this point, but we are continuing to make progress on adding the additional flex posts that we were going to install along the shoulders between Palmer Road and Old Fort Road North, and from Old Fort Road North to Fort Washington Road. We are going to be looking at the possibility of adding trailblazer signs along the connection between I-295 and
Is that Wilson Bridge or? Did we lose you, Peter? I think we may have lost Peter. Communications. Yes, we have someone who's on the line who has some background noise that we're going to ask you all of us to check your mute on your communication device, phone or laptop.
Okay, they're muted.
Okay. I think Peter may have some technical difficulties. I think what he was saying was to date, they're going to add some more flex posts between Palmer Road and Fort Washington Road, Old Fort Road, and then Fort Washington Road. I wanted to also ask him if he could hear me, that we also need those flex posts that are currently in place to be, many of them need to be replaced. Many of them are, for those of us who travel up and down the highway on a reoccurring basis, I know you can probably notice that some of them have been hit several times. Some of them have been hit to the point where they're nowhere to be found. Others have been hit to the point where they're disfigured. It shows the number of people every time we see where something has been hit or missing. This is how many times people have been either going in the shoulders or coming close to the point where that could have actually been somebody on the shoulders, riding a bicycle, walking, what have you, that may have have their life put in peril. The flex poles are doing what they're supposed to do and keeping people in the regular travel lanes. What Peter also, I think, was alluding to is that there's an effort by the Maryland Department of Transportation to get the bike lanes and pedestrian lanes to be concurrent, not with Indiana Highway or on Indiana Highway, but parallel to Indiana Highway, to be a place where those who are bicyclists, those who like to walk, the state and some of the funding that they have to have allotted to the state of Maryland. There have been funds that have been, they're looking for as a grant to basically to put this trail in effect, in action, make it there for those who would like to have that enhanced avenue of walking and riding their bicycles.
We're going to
Peter,
grab
did
it.
you come back yet?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And thank you for mentioning about the raise grant. I want to thank Ron Weiss. I also wanted to thank Ms. Tamara Davis Brown for their support for the that'll be documentation that will be included when that raise grant is submitted. And if we are fortunate to get that funding, we would be well on our way to being able to design this system that would provide that separation for pedestrians and bicyclists and make it safer for those users to be able to get up and down that portion of the county. So it is it's a really great project, and it'll go hand in glove with the improvements that we're looking to pursue with the next two intersections at Palmer Road and at Old Fort Road North. So it's so there are there are lots of moving parts, and this road is definitely one of those roads where there are a lot of moving parts that are being pursued to make what is occurring now safer and implement the things that have been planned for many years to come into action. So that's to be continued, as they say, and we're continuing to try and make that progress happen to make it safer on 210.
Well, thank you, Peter, for that report. Again, I had mentioned I've tried to extend what you were talking about, the flex poles moving from, I believe you said Palmer Road to Old Fort Road.
Correct.
Old Fort Road to Fort
Yes.
Washington Road.
Yes.
And I had put somewhat of an ad lib in the midst of that to hopefully that you can also to I guess revamp or reshape those missing flex poles or those that have been unfortunately been hit and in somewhat of a I guess what it looks like when they're getting hit by the vehicles, but they're serving their purpose. They're
Yes.
showing the extent of how much people have been going over into the shoulder areas. And unfortunately, I look at it personally, this is showing how many lives for those who were probably want to ride their bikes on the shoulders, or maybe walk for different reasons, that there may be the car is no longer serviceable and they have to walk along the service road to get someplace to get to get service. It shows you just how much the people are intruding on that side of the shoulders, or all up and down Indiana Highway in the Fort Washington area. So again, thank you for bringing it to the point that we're going to get the additional poles, but also hopefully the servicing of those that need to be replaced, and for the wear and tear, obvious reasons. So anything else to add with that, Peter?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Okay, I noticed there's a hand raised on Joseph Trapani. We're going to hold the questions until we get through this first part of the meeting with the presentations, and you'll see why, because we want to the next couple of things we want to discuss as I'm getting ready to go to Mr. Ron Weiss, on some very important issues. I want each one of us on this line here tonight to get a full understanding of awareness of where we are as a community regarding the upcoming two legislative bills that Mr. Ron Weiss is about to tell us about here in their full extent, their importance to the community, their placement in terms of things that are we're going to the General Assembly here this week and the weeks forthcoming. But then also we want to get into something that also hopefully many of you were able to take advantage of, the video that was given on NBC Channel 4 last week regarding situations with the cameras. We will get into that as well. So that's why we're going to hold the questions until after we go through these other presentations, and then we will go at it in terms of having open discussions of what you have seen, what you have heard. So I'll go right to Mr. Ron Weiss, and Mr. Ron, we'll give it to you. Ron Weiss is a member of the 210 Traffic Safety Committee. He also has, he's president of also a sister community activist group, the IHHAAC, the Indian Head Highway Committee as well, that also is in similar efforts of 210 Traffic Safety Committee. So Ron, we want to give you the platform to explain fully what's happening with the bills, where we're going, where we are, and anything else you would have to add to that.
Thank you, Reverend Screen. If I could I want to go back in history a bit, just to bring you people who aren't familiar with where we've come from, and so we can get up to where we are, and then what's happening coming up. So in 2018, or actually before then, in 2017, we worked with Delegate Valderrama, and she agreed to sponsor a bill to get us speed cameras on 210 because of all the people dying on our main street. And she asked for, I think, 5 cameras. We got 1. And we got 1 fixed camera at the intersection by Giant, Old Fort Road North, facing south. It was, as many of us expected, not very effective, because it was at a traffic signal controlled intersection where people are at 0 miles an hour much of the time. So, but that was I guess that got our foot in the door. Anyway, we made a breakthrough, and that was the first camera in the state of Maryland that on a state highway that not in a work zone or a school zone. So, although it wasn't all we wanted, we made a start there. The funds, if there were any funds left over after paying for the operation of that speed camera, those funds were directed by the legislature to go into the Criminal Victims Compensation Fund. So the money, any money that was in excess of the cost of running the camera would not accrue to the county or the police. So there was no incentive to fine people unnecessarily. And then we went back again with Delegate Valderrama the next year in 2019, and she introduced a bill that was made it through, and that got us the current 3 cameras that we have right now. They're not required to be fixed, so they're mobile, and still the funds were directed, any excess funds were still to go to the Criminal Victims Compensation Fund. And then, even though it wasn't something we pushed for in 2020, a bill was introduced by the Prince George's County delegation to redirect those funds. Instead of going to the Criminal Victims Compensation Fund, those funds are now going to a fund that would be transferred to State Highway to fund safety improvements on 210. And that's where we are today. Any money that's left over from operation of the speed cameras is accumulating to be used to fund improvements, safety improvements to 210. So now we're up to where we are today, and we have two bills, again sponsored by Delegate Valderrama, who's our hero, actually. She's been pushing this in the face of much pushback from some of her colleagues. Some of them are no longer there, but there's still some headwind to these bills. The first bill was started out in the delegation as PG 303-23, and which is now labeled House Bill 431, and it increases. It does two things. It increases fines on a scale that goes up as the speed goes up. For example, right now, regardless of what speed you go, you get a $40 fine if you go 67 miles an hour or greater. Even the person who went 168 miles an hour last year, if he were issued a citation, it would be $40. So we felt that was not right, and so this sliding scale or increasing scale starts out and goes from 67 miles an hour to 76 miles an hour. It's a $40 fine, and from 77 to 86, a $90 fine. 87 to 96 miles an hour, a $160 fine. 97 to 106 miles an hour, $290. And if you're cited for going 107 miles an hour or more, it's a $530 fine. Those fines are similar to what you would get if an officer issued the ticket, only they're moved to the right by the 11-mile allowance that the speed camera has. So we didn't make these numbers up. The second part of this bill has another penalty for multiple violations within a 2-year period. And if you, for example, if you have a second violation within a 2-year period, it's a $50 addition to whatever fine you got from your speed. And it goes all the way up to a 6th or subsequent violation within a 2-year period of an extra $350. So that's the first bill. That's House Bill 431. The second bill, which is now called House Bill 435, does 3 things. It will give us the ability to have up to 10 speed cameras on Maryland 210. It removes the sunset clause, which up right now we have a sunset of September 30th of this year. That if this bill doesn't pass, we lose the 3 speed cameras that we have. So this bill is vital. It removes allows us up to 10 cameras. It removes the sunset, and it deletes a report that was required prior to that. So that bill is also important. So this Thursday, both those bills will be heard in the House Environmental and Transportation Committee at 1 p.m. And we're encouraging everybody who cares about improving safety on 210 to testify, and hopefully it's in support of those bills. And in order to testify, and you have three options to testify. You can testify in writing, you can testify in person, or you can testify virtually by a Zoom arrangement, just like we are right now. So you have those three options, but in order to exercise any of those options, you have to sign up tomorrow between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. And we have a slide, hopefully Reverend Cuny can bring that slide up to show you how to do that. Through the magic of television, or whatever. We'll see. Reverend Tierney, are you there?
I'm here, Ron, but that's the only slide I see.
Ron, if not, if I could share my screen, I can do a walkthrough real quick of the site and show people how to get there. If they think that's helpful to do a kind of quote unquote live demonstration.
Yep, here we go. Yep. Let's see. Almost got it. Yeah.
I'm gonna try to get Tamara to share her screen, correct?
Let me see if we have the ability to do that. No, it says host disabled participants share screen. So if you want to
Okay.
enable me to do that, I can.
I'm right clicking on it. Okay, I made you the host. Go ahead.
Okay, I see you. I got it. Okay, thanks. I'm pulling it up now. Can everybody see my screen? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I just did for those of you who need to go from the very beginning, I just did a Google search for Maryland General Assembly. But the key one to go to is MGALEG at maryland.gov. You click on that. Let's see if I can close this out because trying to move it because it's in the way. Oh, there. Okay. So right here is the My MGA on the from the homepage screen. If you click on that, it allows you to either sign in, register. This is where Ron was talking about to register, or if you have already registered but you forgot your password, you can go in and actually change your password. I'm gonna hit register so we can see if you can walk through it. And then this is the process to create your My MGA tracking account. So you put your complete information, first and last name, email, create a password, confirm it. You don't have to fill in the rest of this information, but it may be good to put that information in. So if you are so that your local state senator, obviously for us here in District 26 would be Muse, and our state delegates, Valderrama, Woods, and Turner, they'll see that it came from you, whatever you send in, and then you just hit register. So once you register, you'll have an account. So I'm going to go to sign in because I already have an account. And as you can see, my email address and my password, I have it saved. So it automatically populated for me. And then I just sign in. And once I sign in, I can actually pull up the bill. HB. Why is it not coming up?
Just type
Oh,
in.
I can, and then I can add it. Wait, let me put in 431.
Yeah. I think my guess is you can't do that just yet because.
Yeah, because the date to
Yeah.
sign up
Yeah,
is
you'll
on
have to wait till 8
Tuesday.
o'clock tomorrow to
Tuesday.
do that.
Right. So they will tell you, it'll usually show a list, but you should be able to add the bills to your list that you're tracking so that you know what's going on.
Right, right.
For some reason, mine is not there, but let me just do this for witness. Let me go to witness sign up. I think you have to track the bills first. Yeah, you're gonna have to put in the bill number. What's the other one? Ron,
435.
435. I'm just gonna see if it pulls up. Nope. But anyway, you should be able tomorrow, starting at, is it 8 a.m., Ron?
Yeah, but yes.
Starting at 8 a.m. The bills for Thursday's hearing will all come up. You can add those to your list to track. And then once you're ready to sign up, you hit this button and this button will pull those bills. And then you would sign up whether you want to do Zoom, in person, you know, as Ron said. So again, the key is to come to the main page, go to My MGA, create your account if you don't have an account. And then you can actually see now that I'm in my own account now, I can actually go to bill without going to the bill tracking list. This way I can hit on My MGA and you can see the bill tracking list, the witness sign up, all of those things for your account. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen.
Okay.
Ron?
Yeah, see? Real easy, huh? It's so, yeah, it's if you haven't done it before, it's a little tricky, and you're welcome to call me tomorrow. I've got to squeeze in a funeral sometime tomorrow for somebody in my neighborhood. But other than that, I will be working on my testimony and going through that same process for myself tomorrow. Yeah, and I will. And Andy asked if I would. The slide I was going to, or I've prepared for it. I'll put out to the distribution that I announced this meeting to him, so that should help too. And it has QR codes, so you don't have to. If you just take a picture of the QR code, it'll bring you to the sites. Well, the site for My MGA, the site for the. And a site for the two bills that we're talking about. All right, so any questions on that?
We'll hold the questions, Ron,
Okay.
until after we
All right.
go through this next presentation.
All right, so yeah, so I'm going to show the video now, or
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm gonna just get a little narrative before we
Okay.
get into that. Thank you so much, Ron, for that thorough presentation of what we need to do tomorrow for those of us that are going to be participating, but also those for you who will be tracking the events on Thursday. This next segment of our meeting is a little different than what we have done before, we want to actually show you a video that was put together by NBC Channel 4 by their investigative team led by investigative person that really, I think, did a very good job in exploring the whole venue of the camera operation that is taking place on Indian Head Highway. And I really want to be able to capture each one, every person that's on this line, their imagination. I want to very much, hopefully, open your eyes and open your ears, but also to allow you to, after the conclusion of the video, to also have your voice, your opinion, your take on what you have seen. I wanted to take a little time to set this up because everything of what Ron has given you in terms of what these two bills mean to this community it can't hardly be put into words when you take in conjunction what this community has been dealing with in the last so many years. And when I say dealing with, I'm talking about, I want you to register in your mind the number 14.3 miles. 14.3 miles is the amount of mileage and the span of road that we're talking about between the Charles County line and Washington, D.C. line, where Indian Head Highway is involved in Prince George's County. It's only 14.3 miles. But 14.3 miles is the mileage of the span of road that last year we lost 10 individuals in that span of road. That 14.3 miles also signifies how many people we have lost in the last 15 years, from 2007 to the end of 2022. And by my calculation, that's about 89 people that we have lost in that 14.3 miles. 14.3 miles in the loss of life in that small, intense part of the roadway stands alone. Any other place in the state of Maryland, any other place in the DMV. And you have a condensed area that here on that 14.3 miles of road span, which is a state highway. We have absolutely no involvement in enforcement of the Maryland state troopers, zero. This is a state road where the primary enforcement agency's mission is for traffic enforcement is completely devoid of their presence on this state road. We find ourselves also at a time when Prince George's County Police, because of just several things happening in our nation's I guess season, where they're just police officers are at a at a time where there just not a lot of police officers are coming into the job and become police officers. We find ourselves in a somewhat of a depleted situation of having officers to address traffic situations. And so the cameras, the 3 cameras that Ron has spoken about, are really for this 14.3 mile span of roadway where the most intense loss of life has occurred in the state of Maryland. The only enforcement that we have 24/7 in many regards are the 3 cameras, So this video that you're going to be watching bears its own testimony of the operation of those 3 cameras. And I want you, as a community involved person, resident, you're on this line to listen to this committee's presentation because you're interested in what happens on this highway, on those 14.3 miles of roadway. You're interested enough to give your time, your attention, for many of you every single month, because you care. So this video gets into what you're caring about in many regards as the only dedicated 24/7 device that is there to give some measure of accountability for what happens in terms of roadway enforcement on that 14.3 miles. So I want you to take the time to look at this video and assess it under those constraints of what I've just talked about. And then we'll discuss it after that. Reverend Tierney, if you can start the video and let us all see what we're here to see.
Tamara, can you return the host rights to me?
Um, let's see, how do I do that?
Right click on my picture. Yeah,
Click on your picture.
yeah, click on it. It should be a drop down menu.
Okay. Make host, okay.
It's been very interesting the last
Is it broken, Reverend?
I'm not quite sure what's happening. Reverend Attorney, do you need help with this?
Okay, evidently there's something going on. Did you all see the video?
No one saw anything.
It was playing. I did not realize it was not. Let me try this again, please. I'll leave my mic on. Can you see it?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not you.
I thought it was playing all this time.
No, it's not playing at all.
Okay, stop sharing, stop sharing. Now, can you all hear me now?
We can hear you, but we don't see the video.
Okay, let me get to share. Can you hear it now?
We can neither hear nor see it.
I don't know why it's not showing.
I've put a, if this doesn't work, I put a link in the chat.
Okay, let me.
I can share my screen and see if anything progresses with this.
Okay.
Just a moment. Oh, I can't because it's host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, Peter, let me give you the screen. There you go. The host, and you can share your.
It's still not allowing me to. Oh, here we go. All right. Okay. Chat.
Okay.
Can you hear it?
We can see it. We can't hear it.
You can see it, but you can't hear it?
Right.
Oh. Huh. Hmm. All right. How about that?
I can see it.
Yeah, we can see it, but still
Volume
can't.
is low.
Oh. But you can't hear it, huh?
You can't hear it at all. No.
Wow. Well, I can tell you that Pat Lawson Muse is on. And yeah, and what's his name? He's back on the air again after a hiatus. So right. So not sure. You can see it, but you can't hear it.
Right. Yep.
Okay. Wow. I don't
Hey,
know.
Ron, how about your speaker? Can you hear me? How about your speaker at the bottom of the screen there on the video? There's a speaker there on the left, to the left. One over to the right, another one over to the right there. Bring that up. See that little, make sure that's all the way up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all the way up.
Okay.
Huh. Let me try this again. All right, hold on. Okay.
So it may not be your computer itself because I just clicked on the link within my email and I don't have any sound at all and I'm using my phone. So it might be something else.
Huh. Because I can hear it I mean, when I'm playing it, I hear it, and I guess Reverend Tierney, you're experiencing the same thing.
Well, I had video and sound, and I
Well,
could hear it fine.
Well, that's me too, but unfortunately that's not translating to everybody else. I have another thought. Maybe we can click on the link that Ron sent and we can hear it, and then we can come back in 5.5 minutes and continue the discussion.
So all of us click on it individually, you're saying,
Yes,
okay, in the chat.
yes.
Okay. Does everybody understand that option? Okay, Amy. Oh, boy. There's a chat, but if you go at the bottom and there's a chat there and you click on it, it brings up the chat box.
Yeah.
And it will show the link, Ron, you got it, okay.
Okay.
So.
Okay. There we go.
Of the Maryland Route 210 speed camera enforcement program in Prince George's County. It's supposed to mail citations to speeders, but the I-team found some of the roadway's fastest drivers are breaking the law with no consequences, raising questions from the community and from police about why the cameras aren't catching the culprits. Investigative reporter Tracy Wilkins has our story. They call Route 210 the highway of death. And deadly scenes like this are why police say speeds exceed 160 miles per hour happen on this 55-mile-per-hour road. You don't want anybody to die on this road. That's why Ron Weiss and others who lived here fought years for automated speed cameras on Route 210. In 2019, state lawmakers approved 3 mobile cameras, among the first in Maryland. be on a state highway in a non-construction zone. It's working. Ron says there's a problem.
It's just not working on the really bad drivers.
The News 4 IT report prepared late last year by the Prince George's County Police Department's automated enforcement division. It expressed concerns, including why the vendor was at one point, quote, struggling to provide data at time. The report went on to say the vendor, New Jersey-based Conduit, has not fully addressed what appears to be a consistency problem in the data and produced 0 citations for speed greater than 89 miles per hour. The bottom line is data suggests the faster you go, the less likely you are to get a ticket on 210. The I-team analyzed data between April and October of 2022 and found that only 41% of photographed speeders were issued actual citations.
It's too bad. And we still don't know what the problem is with the cameras.
Former AAA spokesman John Townsend said, while studies show the mere presence of cameras has proven to reduce overall speeding, he was surprised so many potential citations are being tossed.
Why would the contractor, who's in it for the money, give up that kind of revenue?
But he had one idea for what may be going wrong.
If you have a multi-lane road and you have multiple cars in the photographs, sometimes you cannot tell who the culprit is.
What's more important? Is it getting the actual citation or is it just having the cameras here to deter behavior?
So the most important thing is to have the camera. But when you have anomalies in the system where drivers are going 140 miles per hour and they're not ticketed, that shows a lack of confidence in data.
We took these concerns about the cameras to the vendor who operates them, but the vendor declined to comment and referred us to the county. Prince George's County Police Department declined to go on camera, but in a statement said the ultimate goal of the program is to reduce speed on Route 210 and that it's meeting that goal because the data has shown a reduction in speed where the cameras are pulling. The IT wanted to know how other speed enforcement programs in our region are catching the worst offenders. Our highest clock speed was 173 miles per hour. And there was more where that came from on the I-83 in Baltimore until the speed camera program last year. But instead of mobile cameras along the road, they have 2 fixed cameras mounted high above traffic, something Baltimore DOT interim director Corinne Johnson says was necessary for I-83's design. This most definitely had the impact that we hoped. We are seeing people slowing down and speeders are getting caught. Johnson told the I-team the program has a citation issuance rate of 97%. We're constantly monitoring both the speed entries, the cameras, immediately addressing any type of issues that might occur to ensure that we're getting that consistent rate accomplished. Baltimore's cameras are operated by a different vendor than Route 210. That vendor verified the 97% number to the IT. Johnson said, while the cameras themselves are a deterrent, so is following through with citations. People know they can drive through during the citations, but they're thrown out. Then you're not really concerned about the hitting your pocket and the personal. For Ron, the success of the speed camera program on 210 feels personal too.
If we don't fix this problem, more people are going to die.
Prince George's County Police did not respond to our questions about why only 40% of those speeding events have resulted in citations or
Can you shut it off?
why no speeders going above 89 miles per hour were cited. They did, however, refer us to the Prince George's County Revenue Authority that oversees the program. The authority has not
Some-
yet provided the
It's
information
almost over.
requested.
Yeah, can you put it on pause?
Now, in a
I
statement,
don't know who's playing it.
County Police told News 4 the speed camera program could have a bigger impact if they were allowed to use more cameras. That could happen. The General Assembly is now considering 2 pieces of legislation involving Route 210. One piece would increase the number of cameras and the other would escalate fines, which are now just $40 for recidivist speeders.
Okay.
Reverend Robert, was that your computer
My computer for what?
that we just lit hearing? Was it yours?
I was watching the whole program, if that was you're asking.
Yeah, I guess it was yours. Ron was
Yeah.
trying to figure out whose it was.
Okay, now I need to get back to
If I could just take a minute to correct 2 things in in that video clip, if you get to see it. John Townsend, who's a good, was with us for many years until he retired from AAA. He made some errors that I wanted to correct. The vendor is not in it for the money because the vendor gets a fixed amount per camera per month. Doesn't matter how many citations, it doesn't matter to the vendor how many citations come from that camera, whether there's 1,000 or 0. He gets a fixed amount for that camera. So the entity that gets shortchanged if the citations are not resulting from that camera is the county. It's the money that would have been fined by citations from that camera. So that money, as we've said, covers the cost of operating that camera, paying for the contractor. So if there's no money coming from the camera, the county has to cover that cost regardless. So we taxpayers are paying for cameras that are not issuing citations. And if the citations are enough, any excess money from that, as I mentioned, goes to a fund to improve traffic safety on 210. So it's important that those, for not just for enforcement reasons, but for the continuation of the program, so that it doesn't go out of business because it's losing so much money, that those cameras function. Okay? And the other thing is that as John Townsend mentioned, that there, whether there's multiple cars within the view of the camera that may be blocking the citation. That could be true, but as in Baltimore, they don't have that problem in Baltimore. It's not rocket science to catch multiple cars. If there's 3 lanes of traffic and 3 cars are going 100 miles an hour, a good camera would capture all 3 of those. And if there's 3 more behind him going 100 miles an hour, it'll catch those too. That's what happens in Baltimore. That's why they get a 97% citation rate. So it's not, it can be done. We just don't have either the right equipment or the right software behind it, or the right process behind it to do the job that we need done on 210.
Okay, Ron, we thank you. It took me a little time to get back to our screen here. I really wanted to get comments from those who watched this, hopefully digested the video, but also things said before the video, and what is your take on it? This is a time that we like to get your feedback. I see an Alfred Barnes. I'd like to go to Mr. Alfred Barnes, and you have the floor, sir.
Good evening, everyone. So I've actually watched this clip a couple of times, and one of the things that concerns me is, number one, I guess, what is the issue with the camera not being able to clock speeds or issue citations above 89 miles per hour? It seems to be, let's say, for instance, everything goes well on Thursday with the passage of these 2 bills, but we still have the issue with it not clocking speeds above the 89 mile per hour mark. Is it a camera issue? Is it the vendor software issue, or what that is? And what's the plan to get to the root of that problem? The other thing too is, why do they have to be those mobile cameras? Has there been a talk about, like what Baltimore has, those fixed cameras that are mounted up on the poles? I'm new to this group, but I'm not new to the issue of 210 and its speed issue. So we all know what happens. They see the camera come up, like it does over there by Weingarten Chevrolet. Everyone slams on brakes, and once they clear that camera, it's back to the Indy 500 again.
And you're so right. If I don't know if you finished your questioning, but in terms of the type of cameras, I mean, that is certainly an open question for the county. Now, going back, you know, and it's something that let me put it this way. If you have a designated road that has the kind of track record that we have, I think we deserve the best of what is out there in the marketing arena to be able to have people account for the speech that they're giving, that they're driving out here. We've got, as Ron mentioned, the high speed for this year, which occurred back in May of 2022, wasn't actually this year, but last year, 168 miles an hour. This one, put that in context. That is 113 miles per hour above the 55 mile per hour speed limit. This is the kind of speed that people are going. Now, you may say, well, that's you know, that's a high speed. Yes, but that's not true, because I think in the month of April, it was 161. In the month of June, it was like 162. So going 160 plus miles per hour is not an anomaly. We've got several people, you know, pushing 140. I mean, I would say in that hyper speed, you know, 140 and above is not unusual.
It's
And
very
here's the thing, you're talking anything, as was brought out by the video, any speed that's going above 89 miles per hour, zero number of people are getting tickets. Now, just to put the numbers in context, let me just finish this, putting the numbers in context. From April of 22 to November of 22, which is the last report I actually received, there were 684 people that went over 90 miles per hour that were tracked by the cameras. 684. Zero of those got a citation. That's the question that I have been asking. Is for those of us who've been on this line, you know that I used to give the camera report every month. I've not gotten the report this week for this meeting. And I have been asking since last year, why are we still dealing with a contractor that cannot seem to adjust or address, you know, this problem since last year? And I've not gotten a sufficient answer. But please go on, Mr. Alfred. You had something else you wanted to ask.
Yeah, and then what's the deal with the MOU, or the memorandum of understanding that Maryland State Police had with Prince George's County, which was signed years and years ago?
Over 20 years ago, but to put it in context.
Okay, so we know that Prince George's County has a manpower shortage, especially District 7.
Yes.
So does this memorandum of understanding does that have an expiration date on it? Can it be expired?
There's no expiration date on it. And just on that topic, I've written two 3-page letters to the current governor of the state. I mean, the past governor of the state, with multiple phone calls behind those letters. And I've gotten zero response in terms, and this is all dedicated to the MOU. And nobody wants to answer the question. Recently, and for those of you maybe tracking news, there was a bad incident back here in I think it was last week before last, actually, down in Indian Head, where the Maryland State Police were called in. There was a shooting event, but it happened right there on Indian Head Highway. Multiple Maryland State troopers addressed that issue on the Indian Head Highway in Indian Head in Charles County. They used the Maryland State Trooper helicopter in order to address some of the victims of that shooting. In other words, they had to go through Prince George's County on Indian Head Highway to get to that site and address that issue, which is what has been happening for so many years. But we have not gotten any enforcement on this 14.3 mile per hour segment of Indian Head Highway by these same troopers. Why is that? And nobody seems to want to answer that question. First of all, let me get into Ron and then Mr. Peter Campanides. Ron, you go ahead.
Yeah,
first.
if I could just address Mr. Barnes' question about can we have a fixed camera like they have in Baltimore City? And the answer is yes, we can. It just, the second speed camera bill that I talked about, HB 187, that was made law in 2019, took away the requirement for a fixed speed camera at Old Fort Road North by Giant, and allowed us to have 3 cameras. It doesn't say whether they have to be mobile or fixed. So it can be, the cameras can be either. And so what happened is, this is based on what I've seen, and I don't have any document I can cite, but the county has something in the order of 80 speed cameras in its inventory from this contractor that they use for speed monitoring and citations in school zones. And so they've taken 3 of those cameras that are the ones that, like you see at Weingartner, and they used them on 210. And I can't be sure, but I would imagine that those speed cameras in school zones are effective. But those speed cameras appear to be not so effective on 210. And without knowing exactly what's going on, I can only speculate that they're just not designed to be useful at 90 miles an hour or above, for example. They wouldn't need to be in a school zone, I would guess. Okay. The other thing is, I've talked to the vendor who provides the cameras in Baltimore, and they say that the camera on a highway, a high-speed highway like we have it on 210, should be 14 to 16 feet above the pavement in order to get a good view of all the lanes of traffic. And
Hence a fixed camera.
say again?
Hence, you have there's a better opportunity to capture the higher speeders with a fixed camera.
Correct. A fixed camera, and the vendor suggests that not just a fixed camera, but a fixed camera elevated above the pavement, higher than what our cameras are.
Yeah, yes, of course. And those exist.
Yeah.
Okay.
What
Yeah,
I
Peter,
would
I
say-
think you're next. You had a question. I'm sorry.
Well, it wasn't a question. It was more like a statement, a suggestion, and this is me taking off my M.SHA hat for a minute as a fellow citizen of Maryland. I would suggest that since we do have a new governor and a new administration, this would be an opportunity to make that ask yet again to the governor to revisit that MOU and perhaps have the state police resume enforcement as they had over 20 years ago.
Peter, not to interrupt you, but that state.
I'm done.
That has already been done. As a matter of fact, there was an overnight letter given in hand as of last Friday to the new governor on this very matter.
Well, there you go.
And I'm hoping to hear a response, hopefully, in the very near future on that issue, as well as the other things we've discussed here tonight.
And not to put words in Miss Davis Brown's mouth, but I know she's been trying, and she's I'm sure she's ready to assist.
Thank you so much. I think we have another question from Ebony Johnson.
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. Just 2 thoughts I wanted to share. One, it sounds like if we can't get the right vendor to offer the types of cameras that we need that will capture these high rates of speed, then this measure in terms of the bill that's being proposed won't have much effect. And so that will be very important, because the last thing I think any of us want is to get this bill passed into law and have high hopes for it to curb some of the reckless driving that we're seeing, only to later find out that it's not doing the job and is wasting taxpayer money by way of the county having to fund any deficit in the funds being collected. And the second thought I had, it's more of a question, and this is under 435, but I don't understand the benefit of removing the report requirement under that proposal. So if someone is able to speak to that, that would be extremely helpful, because just reading the language itself, it suggests that it may actually be beneficial to have this report requirement in place.
Ron, do you want to speak to that? Because I'm not privy to exactly what she's talking about in report requirement.
Ebony, honestly, I don't know why that was removed. It wasn't at our request. I imagine it was done within the county. It was done in the county delegation. May have been by negotiation for some reason. I don't know why. We didn't ask for it. But let me just go to your other point, in that the camera, as if you were able to watch the video, the cameras are effective. They are working. Okay, they just don't work at 90 miles an hour above, and they're marginal below that. But in the early months of the operation of the 3 speed cameras, we saw a dramatic drop in the number of citations as people learned that the speed cameras were there and modified the behavior. So the responsible adult driver, like you and me, we don't want to get a ticket, and we realize that we're speeding. When we see the cameras, either we slow down, or if we happen to get a ticket, we realize we're going too fast, and we modify our behavior. And the majority of people have done that. It's a very and less than 1% of the traffic on 210 has ever gotten a citation. Okay, so the vast majority of people drive safely on 210. The 1% or even less get citations, and of that number, even smaller percentage of that are the people that are going 100 miles an hour or more. So the cameras are working. It's the problem is the people, the maniacs out there, the crazy drivers, don't care about paying $40 for a speed ticket if they even bother paying for it. And I would bet that after all these months of going at very fast speeds on 210 and not getting a citation, they realize the cameras aren't catching them. So that's not going to change. Okay, but we do need, whether the cameras, we fix this problem or not in the near term, we need to keep those cameras out there just as a reminder for responsible drivers to slow down. Okay, it's doing a job for most of us.
Yeah.
And I guess,
and let me just finish. And I would hate to lose another year while we're getting this technology problem fixed, to restart the cycle of going back and changing the fines and asking for more cameras. We have 3 cameras to cover
14 miles of road.
28 miles of pavement,
Yeah,
okay? There's just no way that's going to be effective. We need more cameras. We need the
And
cameras.
so-
Yes, we need the cameras to be effective, but we need more cameras. And if we wait another, if we wait, that problem is not going to get fixed by the end of this General Assembly period, early April.
yeah.
And
Ms.
so
Johnson,
Ron, I'm not against the extension of the cameras. I agree that they do serve a purpose, but I think we need to be mindful of what the purpose is that we're trying to address. And what you've described is the effectiveness of the cameras going after, and I'm doing air quotes here, but the responsible drivers who may not be monitoring their speed or, maybe zoned out and have their foot on the gas for a moment, that it's more effective in that case than against the reckless, highly dangerous, excessive speed drivers. So even if we pass this legislation, we still haven't taken measures to address those high rates of speed drivers that are the ones that are creating the highly dangerous situations, the fatal situations on 210. And my concern when I read the language from 435, removing the requirement that there be some report issued to analyze the causes of different situations on 210 and how to best address those, is that if that report requirement is removed, and I'm assuming and this is me just reading the language on its face, that there is an expectation, if you will, that the cameras will take care of that, presumption that the cameras are effectively addressing the need, then there's no evaluation still of how to address these highly reckless, super high speed drivers. And that's my concern is we don't want to leave a vacuum in the law that allows for the state, the county, whomever, to overlook the true problem that we have on 210 because we've now got more cameras in place that don't address that.
I don't disagree with you.
if I may, so when the law was passed to have the 3 speed cameras in place on 210, it was, first of all, unprecedented in the sense that this was something that was outside of the law that was currently in place at that time to allow for speed cameras to be in place in school zones and work zones. There weren't even speed cameras allowed on 83 until last year.
Right.
So, so when this law was passed, this was, one can look at it and say this was experimental, and as such, the reporting was necessary to see what kind of effectiveness it had on a roadway like 210, where it is a high-speed roadway. We M.SHA provided information to the legislature to fulfill the requirements of that law at that time. The speed camera requirements that have, or the speed laws, let's try this again. The speed camera laws that were passed last year do not have that requirement in there because of providing a report. It operates the same way that it does for school zones and work zones, where the sole requirement is to capture speeders and cite them. That isn't to say that if this law were passed, that the enforcement piece, the education piece, and the engineering piece aren't still there. We're still there, and we will continue to be there. to make these improvements. And case in point, even with the speed cameras being allowed on 210, the 3 portable ones, State Highway Administration is continuing to make engineering treatments along 210. We haven't stopped yet because clearly the problem is still there. The speed cameras are there as another tool in the toolbox to try and control these speeds. What has, and it's evolved into something a little bit different, as Reverend Screen has mentioned many times, that and Ron, that it has fulfilled to a degree its initial thing of getting people to slow down. But what it has become is that the tool has evolved into measuring how fast people are speeding, and now we're using that information to get these next 2 bills passed. I don't know if that helps the answer, but I think that may be part of it, that, you know, if these current bills, particularly the allowance of having, is it 10 speed cameras, Ron?
Yes.
Then you know, it would operate the same way that the other speed cameras work in the school zones, particularly in the school zones, where you have a mix of both fixed and portable like speed cameras, but they're there in place most of the time.
Well, let me jump in on some of this and put some things in context to Ms. Johnson's comments. Ms. Johnson, you have no idea of how much we have angst over this very issue that you have brought to bear, and that is why to bring the cameras into fold for an extension of time and put more cameras out there when the vendor itself is not performing up to the measured requirements. We all knew, those of us on the committee watching this thing unfold through the course of the year, that it was going to get to a point where when we get to the sunset clause, that question would have to be answered. And here's the thing about that question. It's not a new question. It's something that we have brought to bear over this time last year and before, that when we saw that the speed camera reporting was being was falling under its expectation. I mean, not to the gross amount that we have right now, but we definitely saw the trend going south in terms of reporting from this vendor. And it was brought to the attention of those who are in the position to make a change or to do something with the vendor to make that correction. Nothing has been done in all that time. It's basically put this community in a catch-22 situation, because here you have a situation where you need more cameras, you need effective cameras, you need cameras that are doing the job, what they're called to do, what they're contracted to do. But at the same time, they're not doing that. We know we need more cameras on the road, and we go to the people involved the best that we can of knowing who those people are to say, look, you need to fix this problem. You need to fix this problem with this vendor to get correct information. There's no excuse from going back this time last year, having this very problem, and you're not fixing it, and you go into the sunset clause year when we know we need more cameras. But anybody that looks at this says, well, if you can't do right with what you have, why should we give you more? This community should not suffer as a victim because somebody else is not doing their job in oversight to this this camera vendor. This is an oversight problem. Somebody knows what's going on. Somebody has been knowing what's going on, and they have refused to fix it. But this, if you remove the cameras here, there is nothing else to replace them. We don't have enough police officers out there to do that job. I'm going to read you with two what the report, the current report is from the cruiser report. 65 moving violations. Okay, 65. We get 65 moving violations out of one camera category for 30 days. Not, outside of the 3 that we have. That's just not going to cut it. And what you're suggesting is remove the cameras. Somebody knew that question was going to be asked. And anybody with any sensibility knows that, okay, you can't continue to spend money on an inefficient portion of this equation and the way it continues to go. But people knew this thing was bad this time last year and before, but did not fix it. And what I'm saying to you right now is that this community does not need to be victimized because of that lack of oversight in fixing that. We need the cameras because we do not have enough police officers. We need the cameras.
Unfortunately, the community will continue to be victimized if the vendor is not able to produce in terms of cameras that function as needed under the circumstances that are the circumstances of 210. And so what it sounds like is, and forgive me, I have not had a chance to read the full proposal of either 431 or 435, but what it sounds like is there needs to be built into the language if there isn't already, some type of audit function to where if the vendor or the cameras are not able to meet certain criteria, that annually there will be an opportunity to review the performance, annually, every 6 months, whatever. And if they're not satisfactory for the conditions, that there will then be a process to identify and select a new vendor.
Yes.
It shouldn't be
Yeah.
that once the bill is law,
Yeah.
we're just out here in the wind fighting for ourselves.
Well, and that's unfortunately, Miss Ebony, that very statement that you're making has been made over a year ago. Okay, there are people that know this problem exists. They have been knowing this problem exists, and the ugliness of it is they haven't done anything about it. They've allowed it to continue on to the state that is right now. So when we're going into asking for more cameras and we're looking for more efficiency in terms of the fine structure and all of that, we still have this weight we're carrying with us of inefficiency with the camera, the person that's operating the camera on behalf of the government, the county government. 2, why are we put in the position to have to fight that battle when this has already been known by all people involved? They know what this thing has been going on. It's not been hid in the closet, only to the outer public. And the video has brought it to bear, something that we have known over a year ago. But this problem lands at somebody's seat in this government. And whoever that person is or persons are, they have refused to fix it. And the community should not be put in a position where, okay, what someone will say, well, we need to go back to the drawing board and get another vendor or do this and the other, whatever it is, to make the correction. And then we do without during that particular period of time. That's just not going to work for us. And this 14.3 miles of roadway is the most dangerous roadway in the state of Maryland. Factor that into your equation of the answer. You don't leave them to fend for themselves, the community I'm speaking of. That has happened too long. That has happened too long. Indiana Highway has the most fatality from one incident than any other place in the state of Maryland. And that happened, unfortunately, we're in the lower end of the span of roadway at Pine Drive and Indian Head Highway where we lost 8 people in one incident behind racing and 9 people were injured. 8 people and one incident behind racing are dead now because of racing. And this is the character of this roadway. Why would you leave this roadway without? Why would you leave a situation where the people who are responsible for the efficiency of the camera and do nothing about it over the course of the year? That's the question that needs to be answered, and it needs to be set at the door of the person that has the oversight for those cameras. That's the ugliness of this. And then you have a state road where you do not have the state police to do nothing but go through it to the next county. People in this county should be spitting mad about that. This is over a course of many years, not just 1 year. This is over a course of many years, this neglect. And you ask, and somebody is sitting back knowing that these things are going on and they're not trying to fix it. That's the ugliness of this whole situation. It needs to be fixed.
Your comment.
Excuse me, I think we have Barbara Hufford, and then I think, we'll go to the next person that raised their hand. Barbara Hufford?
I'm Barbara Hufford's friend. We live on Kirby Hill Drive and 210, and they put the sound wall up, and you can still hear the speeders going up and down the road. But I've talked to the chief of police at District 4. I've talked to the chief of police at District 7. They have told me several times that they cannot do nothing to support Blurry Street because they were told that Indian Head Highway is more important than the residents in the county. And being this a state highway, I feel that we need more cameras, and we need the state police out there, not the Prince George's County Police. We need the Prince George's County Police to patrol our residents, not Indian Head Highway. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that comment. I think Amy, I think Miss Amy Grogan, I think did you have your hand up?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm coming from a standpoint of the senior development, Fort Washington Manor, approaching East Swan Creek. And of course, as we come out of the manor, 210 is the first thoroughfare that we encounter. And I can't tell you how many people are just flat out scared. People who even have cars. I've just become a motorist within the last 5 years. I've been out here 10, but even as a pedestrian, it was dangerous. Now as a motorist, it's dangerous. And that speed camera that is approaching East Swan Creek, I even question whether it's still working. Okay, because I know what speed I'm going and I'm not speeding, but it's not giving an accurate count. So of the 3, how many are accurately working? I hear what you're saying about the vendors, but the need for accuracy in the cameras is really very important. I just move over. I'm going to do the speed limit because people have guns, and I figure people who are speeding have ticket money. It's very disheartening to know that some of them aren't even getting the tickets.
Yes, yes. Thank you for Ms. Grogan for that comment. Are there Andrew Holloway? I see your hand up.
Yes, sir. Good evening. I'll be very brief. This has been an ongoing issue, and Reverend Scream's been very animated by what he's saying, and so have other folks, Ms. Tamara Brown, Ron. We've been at this for a long time. Our police department here is understaffed only by the fact that it exists. The standards they use for manning the police stations, we're doing pretty good because of the crime. What we're having here is people down here in the southern part of Prince George's County not complaining. We've heard that recently, very shockingly, from a couple of our council members. Well, we got a council member or two who've not been very active with us either. But we've got to hold them accountable. Ms. Tamara Davis Brown scared the shoes off of several of them in this last election. And she's still doing the same thing. We've got to galvanize ourselves to be a force to be reckoned with, to help ourselves. We can stand and bring problems all day long. We have to bring solutions, and we've got solutions, but we refuse to stand behind it. I'll get off my soapbox. Thank you, sir.
Okay. I think there's an April Belk who's been trying to get a question in. Ms. Belk, if you're still on the line, we'd like to hear from you now. I guess she's not no longer on the line. Are there any other questions or comments that need to be like to be expressed?
Excuse me, this is Thomasine Mitchell. I understand that the amount of the citation given is increased based on the speed, that the individual is going. And I saw something earlier in the chat, and it says there are no points associated with the higher fines. Is that something that was left out of the legislation, or how does the points that you get on your driver's license fit into getting tickets for going 95 miles an hour?
Okay. Ron, would you like to answer, follow up on that question?
Yeah, the reason for that, and that's true of all speed cameras in Maryland, and in fact, most speed cameras throughout the country are civil fines that don't have points associated with them. And the reason for that is that the speed cameras in the United States only take pictures of the rear of the car. They take pictures of the rear of the car and the license plate. And so the owner of the car can be identified from the license plate, and the owner of the car is issued the citation. Because we don't identify the actual
driver
culprit, the actual offender of it, the reasoning is that we can't hold that driver, who may not be the owner, responsible as it would be if an officer issued the ticket. The officer can actually identify the driver and gets the driver's license information and knows exactly who's driving that car. And so points can be issued against the driver. Since the speed cameras don't identify the driver, points are not allowed for speed cameras.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Are there any other questions that anyone would like to express at this time? Okay.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Yes.
I put a question in the chat, but I don't know if you're going down the line or the chat or not. But anyway, my question was, you had mentioned something about you had written a letter to the governor and nothing had happened.
Yes.
What's happening with our county representatives? Are they doing anything? And if they're not doing anything, who are the folks that are not doing anything?
Well, I mean, the issue with 210 is known by all and everyone, I believe, in terms of the anyone down here on this bottom end of our legislators, our council people. They know what's happening. We send out invites to both District 8 and District 9 representatives each month that we have this meeting. And unfortunately, we don't get the type of attendance that we would like. I don't know what's more important than saving lives. Other issues than saving lives. I really don't. There are many more important issues, but unfortunately, I used to be a chaplain in the local hospital here in Fort Washington, and I know what it means to when people coming up on the gurneys and they've lost their life out here on this roadway. unfortunately, many people, I'm just perplexed why that does not have a resonance with people who are in the position to make law changes, regulations, that sort of thing, and stay on top of things that can make a change, which is what we're trying to do with these current bills. Yeah, there are people that everyone, I think pretty much the council people know what's going on. It's their choice to involve themselves or not. We try to do as best we can with this committee to bring the attention to the details of what's happening each month to everyone. We open this floor up to everyone, and we particularly, invite and want our legislative body to be with us so they can be privy to these enlightenment of statistics and data that come across our purview each month, so everyone can be on the same page. I'm certainly, unfortunately, I can't answer why they're not here. I can say I'm pretty sure they all know, but it's a choice. We started out last year, about this time last year, with a dedicated thrust, because it was election year, to make it known to all of our candidates that we wanted to have a change in the speed camera law. We do have those bills that are important to us for this whole community, put forth by Delegate Valderrama, who's helped us before, and once again helping us in this current General Assembly with these two bills. But people have their own take on things, and what's important to them is not necessarily important to another person. But we try to make it, we have it open for everyone. And we certainly want our legislators, our lawmakers, our policymakers to be a part of the knowing of what is happening. And as I say again, we lost 10 people last year in this 14.3 mile span of roadway. And I keep, going back to that number, because that is a very small segment of road that we're talking about, the loss of life. You can compare it to Route 5 or 301. I mean, these are long spans of road, times over that 14.3 mile. We have a condensed area where life is being lost, and where concentrated effort could be made to make better. And the cameras, the additional cameras are a step in that direction. Having enforcement, more enforcement people, having the state troopers to complement the Prince George's County Police, as they are doing in Charles County and other counties. They're just not doing in Prince George's County here on this particular road. These are steps that we can make. We know there are no silver bullets that are out there, and cameras included. But all the different measures that we have suggested, cameras, enforcement, legislation, teaching, the general public, educating them, all these things work together for making better. And that's what we're trying to do. But the legislators, the lawmakers, they have to be at the front of the line on a lot of these things. And unfortunately, we don't see that happening with us here in this segment of the county. I don't know if that answers, that's a long, dissertation to your question, but I hope that maybe brings some light to what we have been dealing with in the past so many years.
I heard you mention Valderrama. So that's a person that's an advocate for what we're trying to do.
That's precisely right.
I have not heard you mention any other person's name. So I'm going to assume that they're not advocates for what we're trying to do.
Valderrama's name is on the bill. In order for her to get this passed, she's going to have support and help from a whole lot of other delegates that are going to have to jump on board that bill. And that's where we're kind of there now. I've just, on a personal note, I've spoken to a few delegates, a handful of them outside of Valderrama, and they are for both of these bills. The ones that I've talked to, I don't want to mention any names, but I will say that people, you generally, when they become aware of what we're dealing with, when they become aware of the statistical data, they're kind of asking the question, that is, why hasn't this bill passed already? And I mean, because it's very obvious, if you have the number of fatalities that we have in such a condensed span of road, what's the problem? And they kind of look at us, and I'm looking right back at them. I said, I can't answer that question because it seems to be logically, reasonably easy to answer. But unfortunately, you have people with all different types of agendas, all different types of, wherewithal of, pro and con. And we find ourselves in the position that we find ourselves in now. And Valderrama is going to have a large swath of other delegates to come alongside her to get this passed. She's been the sponsor of this bill, but she's definitely going to have other support to get it through.
Hello, Reverend Robert. Ron Weiss has his hand up, and then Mr. Alonzo Jacobs' hand was
Okay,
raised
I
for a while.
don't see, hold it, let me
Ron
see.
Weiss, and then Alonzo Jacobs.
Okay, I see Ron. Okay, got you.
If I could just let you know that the entire Prince George's County delegation voted unanimously to for these bills, these two bills. Okay, in the past, this is a different delegation than we had from the previous two bills, and where we had members of the delegation who either were lukewarm or opposed the bills, and we lost some time because of that. But this delegation wholeheartedly supports these two bills. Now, the bills, as I mentioned, go to the House Environment and Transportation Committee, and probably will be presented by Delegate Mary Lehman, who's the chair of the delegation's Public Safety Committee. And I have high hopes that it will get out of the Environment and Transportation Committee. But that's only half the story. Once it gets out of Environment and Transportation, it goes over to the Senate and goes to judicial proceedings in the Senate. Well, and I also have high hopes there because Senator Muse and now Senator, who's the new senator that we just, I can't think of his name. There was a delegate who is now a senator. Maybe Tamara can help me with that. And so this new senator is also on judicial proceedings. So we have at least two senators who I fully expect will, in judicial proceedings, will champion our two bills when it gets to the Senate. So we'll probably provide written testimony to judicial proceedings because in the past, only the sponsor of the bill is allowed to testify in person during at the judicial proceedings hearings. But we'll be back. We'll be there. We can sit in, but we can't speak. But we can provide written testimony to judicial proceedings. So that we have the two bills in both houses. If there's a change in one house versus the other house, that has to go and get reconciled to iron out those differences, and then it gets voted on by the full General Assembly near the end of the session. Usually, it's been like the last day of the session in the past, and they've been voted. At least the two bills that got us to where we are have been voted on in the last day of the session, and they have passed. So the fight, we still have to be active and engaged in supporting our representatives who are both in the House and the Senate, who I think are on our side, but we have to give them the ammunition and the backup so that they are not there by themselves, crying in the darkness, that they represent the full community. The weight of the full community is behind them, that the stakeholders, the people who put their lives on the line every day they go out on 210. We're we're the ones that have to show support for these bills, you know? We got the legislators on our side. We have to support them. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, I think we have Mr. Alonzo Jacob that had his hand raised.
How's my audio? Can you hear me pretty
Yes,
good?
we can hear you. Yeah, loud and
Okay,
clear.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak. I just want to thank you and the other speakers, Mr. Campanides, Mr. Wise, Ms. Tamara Brown, my good friend, Pastor Tierney, and others who have given some very important updates and reports for this meeting. I want to thank you for having a very good progressive meeting. I'm confident that something positive is going to come out of this. And I just wanted to address an earlier inquiry about our district representatives. I've had an occasion to talk to the constituent services from Councilman Burrow's office as well as Councilman Harrison's office. And they are very receptive to our concerns or anything that you call in about. And I believe if we could just tighten up our relationship and our liaison between those two offices and just remind them that we are having our first of or last part of the month meetings concerning 210, I think that partnership will be rewarding to our concerns. I don't know the involvement of either one of those offices, but I do know that their constituent services people does appear to be receptive to getting any type of inquiries and making an attempt to resolve them. And I just wanted to share that with the citizen that inquired about what our representatives are doing. And thank you again for this opportunity.
Yes. Well, we thank you for that update. You know, this committee is about building bridges and not tearing them down. We want certainly to build a bridge with Mr. Burrow's office as well as Mr. Harris' office. Both of them are near council people. And we know we have heard their supporting arguments for the bill thus far. And so we applaud them for that. And hopefully we can continue strengthening our relationship for the future because we're going to need it for the many things that are still yet ahead of us and getting these two bills passed, but also things in the future to getting other things that have been mentioned tonight, getting those things rectified as well. Thank you, Mr. Jacobs, for those comments. Are there any other comments from our body tonight that want to comment? Anything said and done? Okay. Well, sounds like we've had a very spirited meeting. I want to thank all of you, and I just want to applaud all of you for how you have hung in there with your comments, with your attention span. This is not an easy topic to discuss because there, as been said, I think earlier, there are many moving parts to it. And unfortunately, there are many new moving parts that have to be addressed. And some areas that are just going to be uncomfortable. But here's the bottom line. We want this community to be kept in the safety as any other community. Our taxes are being, we all are taxpayers in this country, in this county, and we're looking for no less than the best of representation and service, and certainly in protection of our very lives. These cameras, as I'll say again, and I've said many times, they're not a silver bullet answer, but they are an effective part of the comprehensive picture of what needs to be done or can be done to bring better than what we had last year, bring better for what we've had the last 15 years, bring better for what we pray will be a better future for each and every one of us on this roadway. We know we have some issues at hand that are unique to this particular area. It's just so amazing to me, the same highway, Indian Head Highway. You go down to Charles County, all of a sudden you drop off a precipice where you don't find the type of fatalities or, crashes or issues, this, that, and the other. It's a whole different world, the same highway. And so, we know we have something very uniquely indigenous to this culture that's a part of Indian Head Highway road culture that we're going to have to address. I think Peter can probably back me up. I think we're pretty much close to, I guess, the 80,000 cars a day, somewhere in that reference of numbers.
Yes.
Is that pretty much where we are, Peter?
Yeah, it's the section, this is roughly speaking, Palmer Road to the Beltway is where it's at its highest, 80,000.
80,000, yeah, I want you to hear that, 80,000 average a day. 80,000. That's a lot of automobiles on this road, 24/7. And, I know Ron had mentioned, 1% of those are, now you take 80,000, 1% of that, the troublemakers. That's still a hefty number. That's still a hefty number. And we've got some of that hefty number who really, simply put, just seemingly don't care. When you get up to the kind of hyper speeds we've mentioned, all this evening. So we have to rein some things in, and it's that responsibility, unfortunately, rests on our shoulders to be our own advocates for the most part. We've got to have some things fixed. We've got to have some things updated. We've got to have some better changes on this roadway. And we can no longer operate as a stepchild to this county and forgotten about on these important matters. So I applaud each one of you for being as diligent as you have been, and continue to be in terms of your attendance on this line, for supporting measures thus far. As Ron has pointed out, we still have a ways to go. This time, 2 months from now, this thing will either, we will either singing praises for this things have passed, or we may have to go back to the drawing board. That's the time span we're talking about 2 months time span to get things through, hopefully for better. And we need each and every one of your support to get that done. And certainly tomorrow, when this window opens up for those of us who would like to participate, whether you're going to go in person or Zoom or a letter or just speaking by voice, whatever the modes are and options that are afforded to us. I pray and ask as many of you as possible can be a part of that participation to try to impress upon the lawmakers, the policymakers, that we care about ourselves, and we need your help to care along with us to get that better and atmosphere that we all are trying to breathe here in this segment of the county. So I thank you for tonight.
Reverend Robert, I have one topic. We spent so much time about the highway. I had a question I had sent to Peter about the serious litter problem we're having on 210. And I wanted to know, is there a schedule of litter cleanup on 210? Is it every month, every 2-3 months? You happen to know that, Peter?
They were talking about doing 6-week cycles, but I think there is a push to do a countywide blitz, but I need to get more information on that, and I think that information is going to be shared countywide as to how this is going to be addressed, but it's a problem everywhere, unfortunately, and it's been a very tough battle to get a handle on, but we haven't given up yet. We're doing what we can to pick up the trash as quickly as we can.
I do have a question. Within the walls of the state and trying to come up with a resolve, have you all talked about like a media blitz kind of thing? I don't know if you can direct it to certain communities where it's a really, really serious problem. Have y'all thought about some type of media that's that, not shaming people per se, but to remind people to not litter and throw things out on the roadway and dangers of it and things of that nature? Has anyone ever brought that up in your meetings?
Well, yeah, I'm sure it's been brought up. What else? What else has been brought up is the use of cameras to actually catch the people who are throwing the litter. But it's more than just, you know, your wrappers and stuff like that. It's incredible what's being dumped on the roadways.
Yes.
And that's the kind of stuff that we need to address also. Case in point, the park and ride that was recently constructed as part of that Brandywine Road interchange was a real mess, an absolute real mess. And we have to address the issues that are going on with that. Isn't just dumping that's happening. We have tractor trailers that are sitting there, and we actually have a person who's decided to make residence in one of the parking spaces. So we have to sign the parking lot accordingly, that it's the sole purpose is to drop your car off and take the bus. But to answer your question, I don't think we've formalized anything, but everything's on the table.
Okay. I think, Ron, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, you know, it's the same thing for speeding and crash. We pointed fingers at state highway, we pointed fingers at police, we pointed fingers at elected officials and appointed officials and you name it. But the problem is us.
Yeah.
It's us who are speeding. It's us who are littering. You know, it's not Peter Campanides isn't putting litter out there, and Delegate Valderrama is not putting speeders out there, and the police aren't driving our cars. It's us. You know, that's the unfortunate thing, is that we're looking for adult supervision for bad behavior.
Yes.
It's incredible all this work we have to do just so that we behave like we ought to behave. It blows my mind.
Yeah.
That we just can't be responsible adults. You know, you'd expect a child to act like this.
Yes.
But it's us adults.
Yeah. I hear you, Ron. It's what you're talking about is a character issue.
Yeah.
And you know, it's unfortunate when you know, here's the thing in terms of everything, in terms of driving. I'm just going to jump back into that context. And of course, the trash, as you're speaking of, without question, it's a character issue for people who just feel they can trash and throw things out. Same thing with driving. But I want to leave this with you, everyone here tonight. And this has never changed, that driving an automobile of any type is a privilege. It is not a right. It's a privilege. You can look up in any one of your law books. You can look at anything in the Constitution. You can look at anything that has to do with law. Driving is a privilege. And the only way that we are supposed to be able to align ourselves with that privilege is aligning ourselves with the laws and regulations and policies that go with that privilege in order to have the opportunity to drive the car. And I'll leave that with you, you know, and it gets down to character. Nobody should have to look over your shoulder to see if you're going to do the speed limit or not. When we got our driver's license, you know, we didn't have that. We had the examiner there. And I'm sure everybody stayed within the speed limit in order to get the license. It's character that allows us to keep the license in good standing. And that's where our issue are. That's what the issue with the trash is. That's what the issues with driving is, and all the things we're talking about here tonight in terms of speeding and everything else. I want to leave you with just this, I guess, words of encouragement. I thank all of you, each one of you on this line, for being having the type of character to want to do better, want to see better, involve yourself, participate. All the things that you've said here tonight, involving yourself in the many different venues and many different ways in which you have, the chats and this and that and the other. You stand above and beyond many of those who can look the other way and do look the other way. But I thank all of you for being a part of the caring part of the public. It may be the 80-20 rule, and maybe it's no longer 80-20, it might be 90-10 rule now. I don't know. Maybe the caring public is getting smaller, but I like to think that it's still there in numbers. We just have to galvanize that effort, as has been mentioned earlier, and move the needle in a direction where we make our imprint known. I want to pray that each one of you have a blessed evening, a blessed week. I want to encourage you for tomorrow to sign up in whatever form or fashion that you can to participate for the Thursday meeting. But in any case, whatever measure that you have involved yourself thus far, I want to thank you for that. And leaving you with I think I've mentioned it before, one of the oldest prayers that you'll find in the Bible. It comes out of Numbers 6. It says this: the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. I pray that peace rests upon each one of you, and that you have a good and blessed night and good week.
Amen.
Our next meeting
Amen.
will be March the 20th, the same date in the month of March. And until then, may the Lord's peace be with you. Amen.
Amen.
So with you.
Okay. God bless you.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank
night.
you.
Bye.